Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We're back in the files of the dev server to have a look at some more vehicles that have been added in this update of it. Every day they've been updating the dev server with some little stuff. I've been doing some videos on pretty much all of the things. Hopefully you've been enjoying them and keeping up with all of the news. There's been a lot of stuff going on. There's even more stuff today, and I thought we would start off with some of the additions. So what you see here in front of you is the Z10. And by the way, before we get started, if you do enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. But let's, well, get into it. The first vehicle you're having a look at here is the Z10. Now, this is already in the Chinese tech tree in Warthunder. It's the one of the top helicopters for China. But what if I told you it is multiplying? So you have this one, which is the Z10A, and then you have this one, which is the Z10ME. So it seems like the Chinese are going to get some upgraded helicopters. You can see the standard Z10, which is this one that we already have, and then this is the Z10A. One of the big differences is the gun that you can see here, and then also some other little areas that we'll talk about. So what the Z10A is obviously it's just like an upgraded version of the Z10. The major upgrades seem to be the gun change, which is on it, but also you may have seen when we were flipping through them, these little pieces. So it looks like this vehicle actually has some additional armor, which is something we don't actually usually see when it comes to War Thunder or just generally helicopters in general. So it has these kind of ceramic and graphene composite armor plates, which are on the engine and then also near the pilot and also over here. So basically a little bit of additional protection to both the pilot and also the engine cover to try and make sure that it doesn't get blasted as easily, which is kind of cool. The other upgrade that this vehicle has access to, which is not as visible, is it has a new Moar system. So basically it'll be able to kind of defend itself a little bit better. You can actually see on the Z10 that it has this funny pole, and I just thought I'd like kind of point it out to you because it just looks really funny. But also at the same time, it does and technically should get access to some other stuff, such as more powerful engines on the vehicle, which I'm not sure if this variant will, because the thing about it, right, is even though this is the Z10A, this was like a gradual upgrade over time with the Z10 series, so not everything about it will have been fully upgraded all at once. So it really kind of depends on what, Gadget wants to do. And I think that's where they're kind of putting their kind of claims. So just like the additional piece of armor, maybe it'll have a slightly different armament because obviously with a more modern vehicle, it will get access to that. So let's have a look at the next one, the Z10ME. Now this is a much larger upgrade. And basically, some of the upgrades that went to the ME went to the 10A, which is why the 10A exists. The ME is the export variant that was created. And basically, the major differences are huge compared to the standard Z10. So first of all, it has different engines on the vehicle, which shouldn't be too surprising. The WZ-9Cs turn up on this thing. And then also, you can actually see that the exhausts have changed as well. So whereas here, they're actually facing upwards, on the other Z10s, they face outwards. The reason to do this is actually to basically increase the survivability of the thing. So it's harder to actually lock on to this vehicle. On top of that as well, they added all of the defensive systems that you can think of for this type of vehicle. So first of all, it once again has a new Moars. It has also access to a better RWR, which you can find in the vehicle. It also has active and passive countermeasures on the vehicle. So you can see here the little box that's on the bottom. And then also it'll have some countermeasures out the back here. So yeah, it literally has all of these different things. It has an infrared jammer on it and all of this just like different stuff. There's technically also two variants of this thing. So there was one which is from like a few years before the other one, and the later one has even more defensive systems on it, which is just kind of crazy. So yeah, these helicopters are designed to survive, is basically the way to put it. This one also has that like additional armor on it. You can see here near the two pilots, and then also on the engine. So I don't know how much it's actually going to make a difference, but it should maybe stop like some machine gun fire, which I generally think is quite nice. The other thing is, since this vehicle is designed for export, it probably will have some different missiles on it and some different systems. Comparing all of the ones right now, they all have the same pylons on the side. So they have the gun pods and the rockets and then the missiles. So I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference. But the ME is obviously going to be the higher echelon one. You also have, of course, this big old bop on the top. You have what looks like the same optics across the board, so that isn't going to change. But the gun obviously is, and of course the setup on it too. So there's just basically a bunch of changes to this one. And another thing should also be mentioned is this one can carry some insane missiles. So they're known as like the CM502KG ones. These are just insane. They have like 1,000 millimeters of pen. They also have 350 meters per second of speed, and they're 45 kilos heavy, and they have an 11 kilo warhead with a 25-kilometer range. So if they decide to go crazy with this thing, they really can. And also, since it's an export vehicle, maybe it'll come in with like different camos and all of that stuff, which would be really cool. The other thing is, as well, is because of this being built as an export, they used a bunch of the things that, the upgrades of this to upgrade the Z-10s. So we might see even more versions of the Z-10s kind of going forward. There's also some other news about some little things. So to start off with, you remember that AAQ-33 Sniper Pod that we talked about, which is still here? Well, right now, it's actually sat on the F2. So it looks like the F2 might be getting it. I don't know if other vehicles are going to get it too, but at least, there's that, which is kind of nice. The other thing is there's a few people who wanted to see the AIM-9X. It's still not fully modeled in the game in terms of its actual performance, but this is what the missile actually looks like. So just to give you an example, this is the AIM-9P, this is the P4, the AIM-9M, the L, and the J, and this is the X. So you can see that the actual design between this is the X and then this is the M, it is quite different in terms of the actual kind of like setup of it. The X is way thinner, and also a lot more, I suppose, a lot more streamlined is probably the way to put it. And yeah, so kind of cool to see that one in all of its glory. Another thing to also mention is they have actually finally modeled a lot of the other stuff in the form of the Python 5. So this is just the Python 3 and the Python 4 that I wanted to show you. But just understand that the Spider is actually getting its missiles properly, which will be really nice to see. And I'll show you that later when we're actually in the game. So a lot of cool stuff. There's obviously all the other vehicles that are still sat here that haven't made it to the dev server. Hopefully they will at some point, or hopefully something will happen with them. Do you like random things breaking? I like random things breaking. I love the dev server. But yeah, we still have stuff like the T-Sims 2B3 Arena, and then also the boats and many other things. So we'll talk about those as they start turning up, because of course they will at some point. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Warthunder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.